Hello, and welcome to the Indian River High School Blended Learning in-Service Training. You're going to have the opportunity to see 4 teachers utilize very unique, innovative strategies today as they prepare to teach students both online and on campus. In addition to using some innovative strategies that we hope that you'll be able to incorporate into your classroom, they're also going to point out a couple of things that as teachers of both different groups of students you need to take into consideration. Things like microphones, cameras, and how far away you can be, the arrangement of your classroom. So we really hope that you benefit from this in-service training. Thank you.
Okay, you guys, today what I'm going to talk to you about is kind of the structure of how you want to do your hybrid learning. So we're going to have the portion with your in-person students and the portion with your post-Zoom students. So the expectation here today is that we are going to be focused on our in-person students during the beginning, before the Zoom. That's the time when you want to have questions, help them turn in their assignments, remediation, have your Zoom kids signing in, getting ready for the class. I would suggest having them do a warm-up. That way, if kids don't have questions, whether they're on the Zoom or on in person, they can get that done asynchronously. Then you're going to do your guided instruction during your Zoom portion. You want to be careful because you cannot get far away from the microphone. So most likely, instead of teaching on the board to your in-person students, you actually want your in-person students watching you closer to the microphone for your Zoom kids. Once the Zoom is over, that would of course be your direct instruction, anything you're teaching the students, collaborative work. Then once the Zoom is over, the expectation is the focus is on your Zoom students while you let your in-person kids work on their own. So you would give them their asynchronous activities. Any Zoom kids who don't need help could go ahead and do their asynchronous work, and you could remediate those kids at that time. So that's about how you're going to want to do it each day. The only other suggestion I would have is maybe labeling things pre-Zoom, post-Zoom on your Schoology folders. That way if your freshmen struggle with directions, it might be a little easier for them. And I think that's it. Thank you guys.
Those assignments should be similar. So it's Google Slide Friday, or it's Quiz Friday, or it's Blue Puzzle Piece Friday, Essay Friday. Whatever you do on Friday, really try to keep it the same, which is like boring for us kind of as teachers, but then the students don't have to do something new. They're not trying a new assessment, a new thing, a new discussion board that you've never done in class before, because then they're gonna have questions and you're not there and they might get lost and feel discouraged. So Fridays, try to keep it very similar to keep them in a habit. Take it away, Mr. Woods.
Alrighty, co-teachers daily roles. Check attendance, waiting rooms. So I manage the waiting rooms, private messages with unengaged students, manage chat, private chat during instructions, check answers through private messages, dismiss students, and have one-on-one conferences with strugglers.
Get a little fancy with it, okay? So option 1 and 2 are very similar. I'm in the main room on Zoom with all of my students, and I'm sending kids to a breakout room with my co-teacher. Or vice versa, Mr. Woods has all the kids in the main Zoom room, sending them to me in my small groups. Okay? This one is actually, I really do like it. So I am alone on my Zoom call. I'm by myself in the main room. All of my students and my co-teacher, or not your co-teacher if you don't have one, are in a breakout room. They're all together. So like I'm on my own computer, I have no faces. All of you are in a breakout room. And I do that because now you have the ability when you get to a question that you don't understand, at the bottom you say leave breakout room. You get to decide when you get kicked out and come back to me to ask me a question. So we're kind of putting a little bit of the learning and the desire to ask questions in our students' hands instead of always forcing them to, do you have a question? 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 When they have a question, they get to kick themselves out of the breakout room and come back to you in the main session. Last option, I have a small group in a breakout room. My co-teacher, Mr. Woods, has a small group in a breakout room. And then your high-level learners, the students that don't need you, that are probably not going to have a question on the assignment, depending on your level of trust. They can be in a breakout room by themselves, working together. Do you trust them to do that? Do you have seniors that you think are going to be okay? All right? Or do you have freshmen that you're not too sure about? Maybe we shouldn't do that. If you think that they can do the assignment and get through without needing you or assistance, you can also let them leave Zoom. Save some of your bandwidth. They've come to class, they've been in your direct instruction, so now when they're working on their assignment, if they don't necessarily need you, we know we all have those high gifted students, okay? I do it as a little treat. They think it's the best thing in the world. You can finish this assignment off Zoom. They're like, yes, I get to leave class early. They think it's so great, but really it's just us using our Zoom time and our virtual space for the students that really need it. If you are alone in the main room, like on your school computer, it's best for you to have a second device. So you have your phone, or you have an iPad, or your personal computer that you're doing the breakout room with, because then you can hear and see what's happening in both rooms at the same time. And you can actually be logged into your CP Schools account, and you'll have two of your same face, one on this computer, one on your other computer. You can have you and all your students in your main room, and your second device can be pulling students one-on-one or a small group. This one, third one, I did try it. I was very nervous, it made me very uncomfortable, but I said, why not? I put my whole class in breakout rooms. Mr. Woods wasn't here. My whole class, groups of 4. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. And I just popped in and out, and I just prayed nothing was happening, right? But you pop into group 1, hey guys, how are we doing? They're talking, they're doing their work. And you go to number 2, but we just have to be cognizant that you can only be in one breakout room at a time, okay? So as long as I just kept popping in, going. I never stopped going into rooms. And the students, I teach all freshmen, they were actually stayed on task and did what they were supposed to. And then number 4, if you don't have a co-teacher, if you don't have a second device, you've done your direct instruction. By this point of the year, we kind of have our students that we know are our high levels. We know our gifted students. You know, we know they can be enriched or take some time. Okay, let them do their work off of Zoom so that people that you're keeping in your room to work with you are the best students that need you.
So in this session, I'm going to talk about how to get video from an Android cell phone device to your computer to use in your meetings on either Google Meets or Zoom using an app called DroidCam. And then I also go into pretty detailed depth about how to get decent quality sound in this classroom setting in a way that isn't going to limit you to just being stuck at your computer. I know we all sometimes have to get up and walk around, even if we just want to stretch our legs. God forbid, sometimes we need to address students in the classroom. It's really important to be able to move and still be heard. So I have explored and experimented with several different microphone options and setups that are very budget friendly and affordable, and I'm going to share what I learned with you here. Okay. All right. So who am I and why should you listen to me talk about any of this stuff? So my name is Mr. Durig. I'm a third-year English teacher, but before all this COVID stuff happened, I was actually moonlighting as a songwriter and a music producer. I actually won Beer Music Awards 2020 Best Electronic Artist. So this is something I'm actually very passionate about, and what I have learned to do, I actually did this last spring to play a concert. I learned that you can take any Android cell phone and turn it into a webcam that is linked to your computer through the Wi-Fi. And you use that with an app called DroidCam. It is a little bit techy to set up, but you basically just have to copy a code that shows up on your phone, type it into the computer, and then bam, it'll link up. Now I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm not saying that you have to do this. It can sometimes be a little touchy, I will be honest. I had to reboot my computer 20 minutes before this session because I couldn't get it to reconnect the way it was before. So it's a little bit touchy, but if you're very, very concerned about sort of recreating this sense of here's the classroom, kids are in the class, they can see it, this is one option that you could use to do it. Now the other thing that I have prepared to show you is I did a lot of science experiments. I am not actually a scientist, but hopefully any of the science teachers, they don't get too mad if my methods are a little unsound. But I wanted to just show you really quickly what my class looks and sounds like right now. All right, looks like we are in fact recording right now, so go ahead and make sure you type your name into that chat box. It's still 8:59, so we got I guesstimate about 30 seconds or so before it switches over to that 9 o'clock mark, at which point we will go through the moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. So one of the things I've been very, very, very concerned about is how am I going to keep this professional quality sound and be able to maybe move about the room. I've been very concerned about that. But what's nice about doing it that way is I have multiple screens. I can see my kids here, and I can present information on the smartboard like we always have. This sounds a little better. This is using the microphone on the webcams we all have.
Microphone check one.
Sorry, this is using the microphone on the webcam we all have, but not the camera itself.
1, 2. All right, in this instance, I'm using the microphone on the webcam that we all have that the school gave us. I am not using the camera on it.
Sounds quite a bit better. The problem is I'm stuck there. Because the second I walk across the room or try to go, if I want to stand and lecture, I'm incredibly limited. I'm really stuck there. So I tried experimenting with a bunch of different stuff because, again, I have some of this lying around and I like this stuff. So this is a lapel microphone that I found.
All right, microphone check 1, 2, 1, 2. I am using a Sling Audio lapel microphone. This comes in a 2-pack. It's like $20-something. It comes with an extension cable. I am kind of tethered right now. I only have about 6 feet. I'm going to be experimenting with wireless lapel microphones in their systems later, but
So hopefully you get the idea. I only have 5 minutes, but hopefully you get the idea. It sounds okay. I've got some more mobility. I could maybe get extension cables. I haven't had time to experiment with how that affects the sound though. I would like to think it'd be okay, but this is the one where I got excited. So this is a $20 microphone using a XLR to 1/8 inch cable. So you're looking at a $20 microphone and maybe like a $5 or $6 cable. The nice thing about XLR cables is that they are a balanced audio signal. You could literally chain these together. You could get, if you wanted, a 50-foot XLR cable and link it to this thing, and it should not degrade the sound quality at all.
What's that XLR?
all right, mic check 1, 2. Using a Behringer XM8500. This is a $20 microphone going into a XLR to 1/8 inch cable going directly into the computer's headphone jack on the PC. This is a $20 microphone.
So hopefully you get the idea. That sounds almost as good, if not as good, as the microphone I'm using right now. And that, I was very surprised by this and shocked, honestly. That is going directly into the microphone jack on all the PCs that we have. Now, the problem with that is it's still on a cable. So I experimented with a karaoke microphone for about $10 or $15 more. This is wireless.
All right, microphone check 1, 2, 1, 2. This is a wireless karaoke microphone. I think I got this for $30 on Amazon. It is being plugged in with an adapter to make the 1/4 inch output turn into a 1/8 inch output going directly into the computer's microphone jack. So very little extra, no extra equipment required except for the adapter.
So that one got me pretty excited too. So that's what I've done. That's what I looked at and experimented for you guys. If you guys are curious and want to know more about any of that, please hit me up.
What I need is that you use the present mode when you want to use the entire screen, and it does take a couple of clicks. So you're going to go ahead and share it, and then after that you're all set to do whether you want to do the camera or you want to do some other things. And at the very top, you'll notice I had everything preloaded. That's the main thing. Just if you're going to do an ed puzzle, have it ready to go. If you're going to do Quizlet, whatever, that way it just makes it just one click. So normally I'll start off using the camera, and notice you're going to have to open up the smartboard first thing before, and then hit the camera. So then I can do like a warm up here, and the kids see this. It's all in presentation mode, and then you can write with the pens just on it, like. You remember like we used to do when all the kids were here? That's how but now we can do it and they can see the whole thing at home. I use Google Meet, so the main thing is if you're going to do a presentation to the whole class, you've got to make sure you go into presentation mode. which you'll see on the right-hand side. You'll just click on that, and then you do have to do a couple clicks by clicking on the class and then hit share. That'll open up the screen so the kids will see everything you're doing at home and allows you to do some internet websites. So, for example, today I did, first I went to the camera, the smartboard camera, which I already had loaded. That's another thing you have to do. Make sure that, do that as the first thing you do, is to click and open up your smartboard camera. So then I clicked on that and I did a warm up on the screen and I wrote with the regular smartboard pens. Looked great, different colors. After that, we went right into our weather review. So I went back into where it had Google, and it showed that I was still presenting, but that gave me access to where I had already preloaded the websites. So I clicked on Edpuzzle, that was already loaded, it came up like that. We were able to listen to the Edpuzzle and practice the questions that were there. As soon as we finished that, we had been learning some new verbs, so next one over, right at the top, everything preloaded the website for Quizlet. So I clicked on that, and the students were able to go over their vocabulary cards. And the best thing is I have both the Edpuzzle and the Quizlet already loaded in Schoology. So afterwards, if I go too fast or the kids might have a question they didn't want to ask in the class, they can go back into Schoology for the file for that day and find both of the links to go back and practice vocabulary and look at the weather again. Finally, when I wanted to go back to the camera that is mounted on my computer, I went ahead back into my Google Classmeet and I hit stop presentation. So once it stops, it takes away the camera from the smartboard and it goes into the camera that's on your computer. I use this mode particularly if I'm going to do on the side over here, I have a little soap opera story I do with the students. All I had to do was flip that camera on my laptop and it was like a little mini stage set. So I could perform that while the kids were also in Schoology. They had opened up a Candy document where they were going to have to check off a listening comprehension as I went through the story. So these are just some tips that I hope will help make your life a little bit easier. And if a senior citizen like Tom can learn this, I know everyone who's younger than I am can definitely learn it as well. Thank you. So this works really great. I use this a lot. And however, sometimes if I'm like, I'm running a little late, I don't have time to turn that whole thing on, well, you can also do it just here. I can just take a regular pen, colored pens, and I can just write the answer on the paper, and they're still seeing it in the presentation mode.